Yeah? We have a team at hand waiting to engage with you. Don't forget to share the link with your family and friends. Also subscribe to our channels and hit the notification bells so that you do not miss out on any new content. I think we're very keen to share this message with many people as much as we can, because for us it is important. Now, my name's Wycliffe Shamia. I know I've participated in quite a number of other forums that we have had. And just to say, for us, it's a joy to have this opportunity to talk to you. And of course, it's always a pleasure to have those who are within the market also just talk to you so that you see the variety of, say, products or services that we offer within capital markets and even the financial sector at large. Allow me to say this webinar is organized today to recognize the need to mainstream the Kenya diaspora into the national development process in line with aspirations and goals of the Kenya Vision 2030. The entire government of Kenya shares this ideal that it is essential to include Kenyans abroad into the advancement of Kenyan society and economy. The Kenya Vision 2030 envisions a vibrant and globally competitive financial sector, driving high level of savings to finance Kenya's investment needs. The financial services sector is critical for the achievement of the 10% annual GDP growth rate, which had been envisioned earlier. A significant increase in investment is therefore needed for mobilizing both domestic and international resources towards achieving all the projects that are under Vision 2030. Today, our purpose is just to engage you and to empower you wherever you are. And we want to explain the products that you find in capital markets and the innovations that are available for you to make it easy and of course more convenient for you as you look at what you can do with your resources. As you know, capital markets are just markets where you find long-term funds. They help us channel the little resources available to areas that are in need within the economy. And therefore we play a very critical role. Now, we know very much that it is very possible that there will be opportunities that are in the market, but they are not known to those who may be interested. So we talk about securities where we put on shore securities such as shares. Of course, we have debt instruments such as bonds, corporate bonds, government bonds. We have commercial paper. We then have vehicles such as collective investment schemes. Of late, of course, we are talking about REITs, real estate investment trusts, which we are saying they are actually open to most of us, especially those who can have additional money out of what we get for spending after we prioritize our very necessary needs in life. Now, we believe when you are an educated investor, you are empowered and therefore you are well protected. And that is what these forums are meant to achieve at the end of the day. So as you listen to us, I know we have paraded quite very able speakers. Please feel free to interact, and if there are specific issues, we'll want to deal with those. But let me just first of all mention what we see as a challenge when it comes to diaspora. It's very easy, and we have engaged quite a lot with the policymakers. We want specific products, specific services for diaspora. And I'm happy today because as I listen to us, we are organized in certain ways. Let me use that word very easily. Simplistically, I think we need to see how we make ourselves into a force which will be able to guarantee certain kind of demand in some ways so that we benefit from certain opportunities that will be available. For instance, we have had a lot of discussions around, can we have specific diaspora issued bonds? And the question that we have been asked has been, supposing we had specific bonds for diaspora, can we be assured that they will raise the required funds? And therefore it means, I think we need to put ourselves into very coherent units that will then, of course, help us make available such opportunities if it means that we get the necessary amendments even to our frameworks. The other point I really want to stress, because we've seen quite a lot of messages around unregulated products, I think we need to be careful. We are always very clear on who we have approved and the products which have been licensed by the authority. We do advise you, all of us, in diaspora and local investors, to be very keen and careful to ensure when you are dealing in products, they are products which have been actually assessed somehow by the authority and approved. That way, then you fall under the protection of the authority. I want, at this point, to thank you all for finding time, at least to join us. And at this point, without having to speak much, allow me to welcome Kenya Diaspora Alliance Chairman, Dr. Shemo Jodho, to make very brief remarks before we get into the main agenda of the day. Welcome, Dr. Thank you very much.
Sorry, thank you very much. When I see you, please allow me to record Kenya Diaspora Alliance's condolences, and by extension, the diaspora community, the loss of our good friend and pal, Ambassador Dennis Afande. I have to confess, I didn't know the connection with my good friend Conrad. So please, our condolences. Ambassador Afande is special to us because he was our senior most member, being chairperson of the Kenyan retired ambassadors. So by definition, he is a member of Kenya Diaspora Alliance. I must also compliment you, Mr. Chairman, for having been confirmed. Very able one. We're very happy to continue working with you, even deeper in it, much further. And I know there were some salutations you also had recently. Congratulations. Having said that, I have a presentation. If I can be given the right to project, I would be grateful, if that's possible.
Can you?
Tech people, is it possible?
Yes, it's possible, Dr. Shem. So just give us a minute. So David and Victor, are we allowed the screen share? Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, let me. I have to confess that I'm more conversant with other platforms, but yep, I think should be fine by now.
Yes, it's loading, Dr. Shem.
It's showing, huh?
Yeah, we can see it now, Dr. Shem.
Okay, I need also just to click one thing so that it projects well. The younger guys are a bit more versed with the technologies. But anyway, without much ado, we're doing this presentation collaboration with the Diaspora Investment Club, which is KDA's business arm. In terms of areas of interest to us, our main objectives are, one is to optimize resources and networks to hasten attainment of the SDGs, AU Agenda 2063, Vision 2030, because they are all aligned. Just a few of the SDGs: fighting poverty. The other way is putting money in pockets of people, particularly the youth and women, as well as universal health coverage, food security, affordable housing, and so on and so forth. Of course, they are in line with the Big Four agenda. That's our overall overarching interest. But we go a step further and have an interest on specifically doubling remittances by the year 2030 to $6 billion a year. We do know that currently they stand at about 3 billion. We may have been told, missed a little the start of the CEO's briefing, but even in case he didn't, yes, they stand at the moment at about $3 billion per year. We are keen to double that and work with partners, government at the various levels, and private sector and the diasporas themselves, and development partners to double the amount within that time. We are also keen, and this is where CMA comes in particularly, how do we increase the amount that's going into hard investments? Currently, they only stand at we are told 25%, even though the figures are not very precise. And also, having said that, I should add, I pay tribute to the role other partners play. Central Bank, in particular, work closely, and IFAD, International Fund for Rural Development. We work closely as well. Currently, of course, CBK has got the running survey. I'd want to encourage the diasporas that when the actual survey, I think the pilot is complete, is launched, please let's cooperate and have it all done. So doubling remittances, for us to be able to do that and know how much do we spend more into investments and productive savings requires data. Then, of course, we are keen to find ways, how do we enthuse diaspora to bring more? Trusted, regulated, as CEO has amplified, and secure portfolios. Just to give an inkling, I often tell people, why can't you smell the coffee? Okay? Why can't you smell the coffee when the diasporas, you looking at that map, the diasporas, that's Western Africa, but it's not very different from the East African situation. You would find that by the year around 2006, the remittances did bypass, that diaspora remittances compared with all foreign aid, what we call development assistance. You can see the blue one is the remittances. At KDA, we have a little broad definition of that. What do we mean by diaspora? Ordinarily, it's non-residents, Kenyans who live outside the country. But we also mean mixed families, Kenyans married to Norwegians or Kenyans married to Tanzanians. We also consider them diasporas. Then we have returnees, those have been living in Germany for 20, 30 years, returned home. Then also aliens in Kenya, call them foreigners if you may. Then we also have corporates. These are companies doing businesses outside Kenya. KCB, Sudan, NTV, Uganda, GeoNet Communications, New Jersey, and so on and so forth, as well as individual Kenyans who own businesses or run businesses outside the country. We consider those diaspora because the revenues are being earned from outside the country. Of course, we estimated 4 million, and some work for government, work for themselves in private sector. It's always important to understand the dynamics of the diaspora to be able to plan for them well. We normally use this one-pager conceptual framework. The diaspora being in the middle, money is the main thing. Most diasporas go outside the country for better living. And yep, there it is. They relate with the host government where they are. It could be Philippines, it could be anywhere else, USA, or it could be Fiji Islands. And then they relate with the different corporates. In terms of how do we stand at the African level? The diasporas remit into Africa whooping for $80 billion, which is double all the foreign aid. And actually double all FDI, foreign development investments coming into Africa. The majority of it, 30 billion goes into Egypt, 25 billion to Nigeria, 9 billion to Morocco, $3 to $5 billion each come into Kenya and is to Kenya. The Kenyan part, I'll talk about it in a minute, but that's what we call contemporary diasporas. That's the diasporas who went abroad or their parents went abroad less than 200 years ago, or their great-grandparents, their second, third generations. But there are those who are involuntarily taken away from us 600 years or 6 centuries ago to the Middle East and 400 years ago across the Atlantic to Caribbeans, to Americas, and so on and so forth. So we call these historical diasporas. Interestingly, the African American alone, we are told, has got spending capacity $1.2 trillion. Okay, that's bigger than the GDP of any African country, even South Africa and Nigeria, that are reputed to be the biggest economies. A number of the African American business leaders have told us, and we work with them, look, we want to bring this money into Africa through Kenya, underline, through Konza City. I'll not elaborate much more on that. For the Kenyan diaspora, the 3 billion, that comes, of course, we know is bigger than all earnings from agricultural exports, the major exports put together, okay? They come to 2.4 billion, what we get from tea, coffee, horticulture, and so on. But even tourism in a good year only gives us 1.2 billion. So diaspora is the major, the diaspora has basically sustained Kenya's economy in terms of foreign exchange. We are very keen. Why are we saying we want to double it? The Filipinos are 10 million diasporas. They take into their country are whooping $40 billion. Pro rata, 3 or 4 billion. The Kenyan diaspora should be taking home about 10 to $12 billion. Maybe as I head to conclusion, just a little bit, obviously I didn't have time to talk about our organization, but KDA, we always quick to say we are a federation. Some call us umbrella body, but we are a federation of 44 diaspora organizations of these various kinds, circles, faith, and so on. And there are 44 of them. And these are just a few of the ones. From there, you would find Kenyans in Nigeria, Kenya Community for Kenyans for Change in Dallas, Texas, and Kenya Diaspora Voice in New York, Kenyans in Zimbabwe. I think in case it's tuned in, one of the senior officers at the Central Bank was previously chair of one of our members, Kenyans in Zimbabwe Association. And we're very glad that he was able to be part of government. Well, for those who know their logos, you can identify them from that. But let me very quickly run into what is it that we offer. One of our best flagships is the annual Diaspora Homecoming, which is in its 8th year, non-stop. The best session we had was December 2019, understandably because that's when COVID struck. We had 800 guests who signed in from 44 different countries, and we had 10,000 viewers following live stream. We had over 60 excellent speakers, and we had over 40 companies, of course, including CMA, our very good partner. So, and we had 3 governors also in attendance. If just in terms of our regular partners and speakers, guest speakers, those are some of them. You would recognize Honorable Foreign Affairs Minister, our boss, where we fall, devolution. Right Honorable Prime Minister was our keynote speaker last December, Kenya Film Classification Board, Dr. Manu Chandaria, and so on and so forth. The head of UN agencies, the head of IOM. Next to Honorable Wamalwa is Moroccan Foreign Affairs Deputy Minister. Now that's just, and at the bottom left is, in the middle, Nigeria's former permanent secretary served in 4 portfolios, Office of the President at President Obasanjo's time, and so on, but dealing with diaspora matters. Maybe just very quickly, I would have shown some statistics, but let me just pick a few in the interest of time. The diaspora portal, our go-to, the kind of traffic we command. You can see from the pages accessed, majority 11,000 pages from US and so on. We have more of these statistics. We'll share the presentation. You can see there was in the year 2019, from normally around July upwards, there was a spike, 80,000 people in just 1 month accessing our portal. By the way, we have shattered these figures more recently. In the year 2020, because of COVID, we had huge demands up to around April. People in distress wanting to be removed, to be brought back from Afghanistan, from India, even from the US, from the UK, from Botswana, and all that. In terms of, again, some of our traffic, this is, we had 94,000 for April last year. Again, I've just explained COVID inquiries. Maybe lastly, so that I leave the floor for this panelists. In terms of distribution of our traffic, that's how it is. We will literally find our membership of people who access our portals from every part of the world. I should say the last best showing we had a month ago when we had a webinar with the Honorable CS Foreign Affairs and Honorable CS Labor, who accepted during the meeting to be migrant diaspora welfare champion. A month later, we were able to achieve 1 million views, 1.5 million impressions. So that's the commanding traffic we have, and we're happy to work with the CMA. Thank you so much, Banasio, and sorry if I exceeded my time. Be blessed. Huh?
Thank you, Dr. Shem. And I think just just listening to the two speakers, a wealth of information there that we're picking from their comments. Where the CEO is talking about how do we then empower diaspora? How do we engage them more oftenly for them to find the right channels to channel back these 3.3 billion dollars that can go into economic development and uplifting the this country to the next level. And how do we do this using the available technology and innovations? And of course, this now kickstarts the conversation with the panelists that we are going to introduce in a short while. But before I do that, allow me to ask Lucy to just give us a bit of information on the previous engagements, some of the areas that we did provide and say that we are going to hold this webinar to address, given your questions and our interactions, and then we can get to the panelists. Lucy.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Bonasi and Dr. Shem. Indeed, the authority recognizes the role of the diaspora in development of the economic locally. And in this regard, we have continued to engage the diaspora as a major target group for the authority's investor education program based on their potential to tap into various capital markets products that support even the Big Four agenda. So according to capital markets investor behavioral and situational analysis study that was undertaken in 2018, the diaspora displayed a medium level of awareness on capital markets, and they have low investment practices, despite the segment having a great potential judging by the high value of remittances, as has been indicated by Dr. Shem. So in order to address the knowledge gap and channel these remittances to real economy, the authority has had has continued to engage the diaspora, and we have had 3 major live book conferences, which had a global representation. I think in the last one we had about 32 countries represented, and the first one was in June 2019, then the second one June 2020, and October 2020. In the previous sessions, the focus was on creating awareness about the Capital Markets Authority, the mandate of the authority and its role, investment opportunities within the country, and the investing process, as well as investor protection, amongst other topical issues. From the analysis of the previous engagement, participants, there was keen interest by participants to learn more about various products that are of interest to the diaspora. And they also wanted to know how the Kenyans abroad can be able to invest from their respective countries of residence. There has also been a request for more information on investor protection, so that even when they invest, they are assured that their investments are safe and secure. A few queries have also been received arising from the various engagements on how the diaspora can raise capital from the capital markets. So this forum is therefore focusing on highlighting some of the key products that the diaspora can engage in, can participate in, as well as the technological innovations that make it easy for the diaspora to participate in the market. This will also address the various mechanisms that are in place to ensure that their investments are well protected and secured. So we have the authority has brought on board a team of experienced capital market practitioners who are well versed to take you through the main topic of the day. And I hope you will enjoy the session. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you for that good background. So it gives us now the platform under which to engage. And just a few housekeeping rules so that we can get into the panel session. So we'll have a chat box open for question and answers, either on this platform or on our Facebook Live page. And you can please channel your questions, your comments for us to either to the panelists or even to the the authority and the NSC for us to revert to them those questions and comments. We'll also have the question and answer for at the end of the discussions here, and a poll also will be undertaken so that we can see whether we have been able to address some of those issues that you have raised. For the panelists, while you're making your points, kindly keep your video on so that we're able to see the person speaking. And while you're not making any comments, please put it off so we can have our sign language interpreter also seen by the other viewers and listeners. I'd like now to introduce the panelists. We'll start with Edward, and probably the way we'll do this is that I'll introduce the panelists and probably just shoot the first question so that we're able to carry through and see who the panelist is and the questions they're addressing. So our first panelist is Mr. Edward Kirathe, who is the founder and CEO of Acon Holdings Limited. Mr. Kirathe is a well-known, real estate sector practitioner, and Acon as an institution is focused on developing and managing high-quality and affordable rental housing in Kenya, starting with purpose-built accommodation for university and college students. We all remember in 2019, Edward led Acon to issue the first green housing bond in Africa, which was later listed at the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and also dual listed in the London Stock Exchange in the UK. Subsequently, 2021, he again led to successful launch of the Acon Student Accommodation Development Rate and I-Rate, with a combined asset under management of Kenya shilling 7.5 billion. And today, as we introduce Mr. Kirathe, we would want to, people asking, what is this rate? What is a rate? So if you were to define what a REIT is to our diaspora investors, and also there's a distinction between an investment rate and also a development rate, how would you explain that to a layman who would want to come and participate in investment in this product? Welcome, Mr. Kirate.
Okay, thank you, David. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Yeah, so and I'm glad again to participate in yet another CMA webinar. Always happy to give my input into the market and based on the experiences that we have had. So the REIT stands for Real Estate Investment Trusts. And REITs were originally started in the US back in 1960 as a way to provide a pooled real estate vehicle that allows investors to participate in real estate. So the REITs are regulated by the Capital Markets Authority. There are regulations stipulating how REITs should be run and operated. And so they are a regulated vehicle, I think, which makes them a safe asset class for retail investors, including diaspora, but also institutional investors, as I will maybe mention a bit later. The REITs that we launched are two. One is a development REIT and the other is an income REIT. So the development was actually a special creation and innovation of the Capital Markets Authority back in 2015 to provide a mechanism for you to develop substantial development using REITs. So the development REIT is only involved in developing the assets. So it acquires the land, it develops the assets, and then once they are generating an income or once they are ready, it sells them, those assets to third parties, which could be an income REIT, which is what we created. An income REIT is primarily generating its money from the income being generated from the properties. So in our case, once we complete the student housing or student accommodation, and once the property is generating an income, a steady income, it is sold from the development REIT into the income REIT. And the income REIT then pays that income that is being generated out as dividends to investors. So that's basically a quick summary on what REITs are.
Thank you, Edward, for that. And maybe just as a follow-up question, so in your recent issuances on the D-REIT and the I-REIT, please describe diaspora participation and how has this been?
Yeah, okay, thanks, David, for that question. So in the first instance, in this initial close, we did not open it up to diaspora or even Kenyan retail investors. We had primarily institutional investors. So we had 22 investors come in, which included 14 pension 14 Kenyan pension schemes, a UK development finance institution, there were about 4 high net worth individuals, and 3 other institutions. So there were a couple of different types of institutional investors. Now, having said that, we are working with the CMA right now as we speak. We have applied to launch a product that would be able to be a solution for retail and diaspora investors through the CMA sandbox into the REITs. We wanted first to settle institutional investors into them before we bring retail investors and give them an opportunity. And one of the big reasons for that is that a lot of Kenyans, as you know, have lost money through all manner of real estate vehicles that don't have the right type of capital structure. And what happens is, with institutional investors having come in a big way, including the international investors from the UK, it gives a lot of credibility to the REITs to then now speak to the retail and diaspora market. So we will be certainly in the next few months engaging with both the Kenyan retail investors and diaspora on these opportunities.
Thank you, Kirade, for that. And I believe as we create awareness to our diaspora investors, I'm sure most of them who have invested in brick and mortar would want to get exposure to some of these investments, which are, I would say less risky in terms of, the if you pit it against the, brick and mortar investment. And of course, now you're dealing with a professional person who is, monetizing, the land and giving you an asset that has equivalent return into the future. Thank you for that. So we can post questions, and then we'll post those questions later to Mr. Kirade. Hopefully you'll still be there, and if you'll not be there, I'm sure Ragav will be in the house to answer those questions. So I'd like to invite our next, panelist, that is Ms. Cynthia Mbaru, who is the Executive Director, Diaspora Investment Bank. Cynthia is an investment banker by profession and also a member of the Institute of Certified Investment and Financial Analysts in Kenya. She has a vast experience in, arranging and structuring transactions, having done this both in Kenya and in Europe, and has had a key role even in the capital markets in Kenya, assisting investors, to come in and invest, and also advise, providing advisory services. Cynthia, welcome.
Can you
hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Cynthia. So Cynthia, maybe the first question would be, what are some of the products in our market specifically that would be of interest to our diaspora investors?
Sure. I think in terms of the capital markets, they've continued to expand their product offerings. And I think now it includes investing in listed equities, fixed income, which includes government of Kenya securities and corporate bonds. You've got REITs, unit trusts, derivatives, and then you can also now invest in OTC securities on NSE's new unquoted securities platform. So there's a diverse range of products which are currently available, and NSE and CMA are always working to expand that offering. However, before investors look at products, I think it's also important for them to take a step back and also assess what investment objectives they have and what their risk appetite is, and then invest in suitable products. For example, if it's important for you to be able to access your investments quickly for cash, equities and certain fixed income products are more suitable as they're more liquid. But even within equities, certain equities are more liquid than others. So you really need to have an understanding of when or if you'll need your money back, and then invest accordingly. The other thing we see is that it's important to consider what your risk appetite is really like. The products have varying risk levels, which correspond with their returns. So basically, high risk have high returns, but then also high risk products can mean loss of all investment. Low risk gives you lower returns as well. So for example, government of Kenya securities are considered to be low risk. So that might be that when you venture into investing first, that might be a good place to start. And then as you get more comfortable, you can add more products. And finally, as you invest in the NSE, it's important to also consider diversification to minimize your risk. You don't have to put 100% of your portfolio in equities or one particular security. You can see how to diversify that risk. And then backed by all of this, it's important to understand that a lot of investment banks and brokers have also invested in technology. So most of them have online trading platforms, which can allow you for ease of execution. At Diaspora, we have an online trading platform. We have a mobile trading app, which you can download on Google and Apple Play stores. You can fund your account through M-Pesa, and you can receive payments through M-Pesa. We're able to accept funds in all currency, pound, euros, USD at competitive rates. We are also able to set up nominee accounts for you, so where we can also receive your dividends and coupons on your behalf, so that instead of the money going out and then coming back in, we can keep it and then reinvest for you as per your instructions. And then you get daily and weekly research. And I think we're all available to schedule a call with anybody who's interested in investing, and then take you through specifically what products are available, assess what your investment objectives are, and then recommend things that are suitable for you. Back to you, Kanye.
Thank you, Cynthia. And I think I like the, you've explained in terms of, the kind of services you as a market participant, as a market intermediary, you provide to any investor out there. And I think some of the questions that we have been receiving as an authority is, how do I access my broker? How do I then get to, invest in Kenya? Who gives me advisory? Who gives me the proper information in terms of where to invest? And I think some of the tools that you've just enumerated, including, daily research, notifications, then would help anyone who would be interested in investing in capital markets. Allow me, since you've mentioned about, the digitized platforms that you have, I'd like to bring in Bansri Patni, who is a business development manager, Cash Markets, the NSC. Bansri, holds a mandate of promoting capital markets products to issuers through connecting capital market with opportunity. She has been instrumental in development of various capital market products that include Green Bonds Program, the County Bonds Framework, Ibuka Program, and quoted securities platform. Quite a huge portfolio there. And of course, also just linking, our markets through various engagements with London Stock Exchange, Johannesburg Stock Exchange, Nigerian Stock Exchange, Rwanda Stock Exchange, Dar es Salaam, and Shanghai, China. Bansri, we've had, the mention of, digitizing these processes and allowing our investors from the diaspora to sort of, access the market through some of these technological advances. What innovations and technological interventions does the NSC have in place to facilitate access to capital markets by the diaspora? Over to you, Bansri.
Great, thank you so much, Kanya, and it's an absolute pleasure to participate in today's webinar, where we get to speak to a very important investor group for the exchange, and I believe the larger capital markets as well, and that's the diaspora. And as one of the earlier speakers had mentioned, that diaspora remittances form one of the largest pools of capital that sort of enter our economy on an annual basis. And it's very important that this sort of capital and funds need to be channeled into investments that can grow sustainably and in a very transparent and safe way. And as the capital markets and as the exchange, we can assure you we have the platforms and we are able to protect investors as they channel their savings into the investments we have. So in terms of technology and innovation, this has been a very important theme for the exchange, even at the back of a very challenging year where the financial services sector has faced immense pressure, and also the larger economy as well. But I believe underneath all the dust, as the exchange, we have been able to innovate and sort of provide a platform and that is able to connect all our trading participants, all of our investors, and the larger capital market players in a way that has never been done before. And that is through the introduction of the NSC mobile app. And really the app is more so a gateway to broker apps and allows investors, whether it's locally or in the diaspora, to invest at the touch of the button, and therefore it sort of enhances the sort of trading experience that we want these investors to have, which includes convenience, which includes ease and speed, which is really a great digital diversion from what has been happening in the traditional markets, where investors are actually expected to either make numerous phone calls or actually even visit broker offices to place trades. So in terms of the NSE app, we currently host 5 broker apps. And as Cynthia has mentioned, we do have the Dyer and Blair app. We have the AIB DigiTrader app. We have the FIDA Investment Bank app, NCBA, and Jikuze by Genghis Capital as well. So the app is also able to host online share trading links to 16 broker platforms. And we've seen a lot of active trading in the past couple of months through that channel as well. So additionally, just like Mr. Shamia had mentioned earlier, it's very important for diaspora investors to be well informed on what is going on in our markets. And the app also plays a role in this by enlightening the users, by providing more information on the market snapshots on a daily basis. And this provides information on what are the biggest gainers, what are the biggest losers, where is performance headed to. It also provides information on the listed companies, our trading participants, the capital market products, and what should actually interest some of the investors. It also provides financial news and hosts the media center, which should be able to guide investors, especially in the diaspora, on exactly what is going on in our market today. So brokers have actually gone one step further to include very, very important sort of information such as portfolio evaluations. So even as I'm looking at the chat box, a lot of questions are coming up on how can these diaspora investors sort of understand what their standing is. And I believe through some of these features, brokers are able to share live information with these investors on a daily basis in relation to where the market is headed. They also can receive trading statements. There'll be a statement showing what the availability of funds are. So again, these investors can sort of decide on what they want to do with the pending balances. Of course, this is on a day-to-day basis. We've also seen a few brokers provide demo trading, which is a very good first-time experiential platform for traders, and also research reports, which can also guide some of these investors on really what would constitute a buy or a sell order. So really these features collectively have ensured that investors, both locally, again in the diaspora, have adequate information that is also relevant to them. And so they're really able to decide and make investment choices on where they want to channel their savings and their investments in our markets. And also another very key important feature of the NSE app, and I believe an advantage to all the new investors who have tuned in from the diaspora today, is the possibility of opening your own trading accounts, again, from the touch of a button. So some of the brokers we already have on our app actually do facilitate this, and you have to fill in very basic KYC documentation. And again, just follow up with your broker, who will in turn help you and support you through the process to ensure that your account has been opened. So really, to conclude, we have received enormous interest on the app, and to date, we have about 22,300 subscriptions from the time that we introduced the app. And what we're trying to do is, on a continuous basis, is to ensure that there are enhancements made so that we can provide maximum value to all these investors. And we really do hope to see a shift from the traditional model to a more technologically advanced model, where all the tech-savvy investors in diaspora today can really access our market really just by touching a button. So that's it, Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you, Bansi. You've talked so much about the app, and it's eliciting a lot of debate in the chat box. Please tell us, what is the name of the app? Where can we find the app for those of us who want to access it?
Great, Kanye. So I'm sorry, I think I missed that, but the app is available on the Play Store or the Apple Store. So you just have to go download it, and immediately you can start your trading journey.
What's the name of the app?
It's called the NSE app. And you'll see the NSE logo, so
very well,
immediately you'll be able to recognize it. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Thank you very much, Bansi. I think, all in one shop, access to information, access to trading, and just giving you the control to access the market, trade, and also just get to appreciate and see and monitor your investments grow. And I think this is the kind of information that probably we need to also get to our investors out there, who can now then take advantage of the opportunities and the digitized opportunities that are there. And you can actually see the growth in terms of the hits that we get from those apps. It shows that there is a lot of interest. I think we did this, we introduced this app last year during the COVID times. And of course, you can see 22,000 already, and the number is growing. And I would probably, I'm sure after this, we'll see more numbers coming in from the diaspora. And now, allow me to also bring in Madam Marion Kioi to this conversation, because again, the other questions we are getting from this kind of conversation is, how do I get to know what I hold? How do I get to see, what do I need to do when I want to trade in the capital market? Madam Marion Kioi heads the operations at the CDSC. She is charged with the safe custody of your securities and management of daily electronic clearing, delivering, and settlement process. She's also the secretary of the CDSC's Business Conduct Committee. Marion has over 16 years experience in operations at the CDSC and a wealth of experience in the capital markets. Marion, I think the question that I'm seeing and I'm receiving from the participants is, how does one open a CDSC from the diaspora? And also, does the CDSC have a portal where investors can track their holdings as they trade? Over to you, Marion.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Kanye. Good afternoon, everyone. And it's quite a pleasure being able to speak to this audience. And we are very glad to be involved in this process. Now, in terms of opening a CDS account, there are, maybe I start by mentioning that CDS accounts are opened through our agents. And our agents are the brokers, the investment banks, and the custodian banks. So the first point would be, for the client, would be to choose which broker or which custodian they want to open the account through. Now, the various brokers and custodians have platforms as indicated by Cynthia. And as Banstri has indicated, that even through their app, someone is able to access the mobile apps of the brokers to be able to then initiate the process of opening a CDS account. So once a client has selected which broker they want to open an account with, they reach out to the broker. The broker will provide them with a platform where they can capture their details and submit them for the account to be opened. The broker will then go ahead to open that account directly in the CDS system. And that, and then that account opening process is then concluded at CDSC. So at CDSC, we confirm that the details are captured correctly, and then we approve the account opening, and the client is able to immediately access their account and start their trading. Now, in terms of accessing an already existing CDS account, we also have a mobile app in place that helps all investors to be able to keep track of their investments that they have bought at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. This app can be accessed from the App Store or from the Play Store for Android. The name of the app is CDSC Mobile, and it allows clients to be able to view, first and foremost, their own client details, the names as they have been captured, their CDS account number, their addresses, the bank details they provided for corporate actions. And then they can also view the securities that they hold, who are their brokers, and which securities they have under each of the brokers and the quantities that they hold. Over and above that, the app also provides the notifications when there's a transaction in the client's account, so that the client can always be aware when there's something happening in their account. So the notifications are sent directly into the app to just update the client on what is going on. Then over and above that, with our new system, we have also provided the opportunity for especially diaspora clients, because we understand that sometimes getting their dividends has been a difficult process, because previously—
Hello, Marion, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Karen, we had lost you a bit, but can continue.
Okay, sorry about that. Now, I was saying that for the diaspora clients, they are now able to provide their bank details, their foreign account bank details, for them to be credited with their corporate actions directly to their account wherever they are. So in terms of the mobile app, currently they are able to view their details and their holdings and their corporate actions that have been announced, and also their entire KYC. Now, over and above that, we are working on how they will be able to access and initiate transactions when it comes to a transfer. I've seen a question about how do you transfer from one broker to another. We are working on allowing that transfer to be initiated by the client directly from the mobile app, and this will be in place by the last quarter of this year. And so they'll be able to update their details, they'll be able to initiate transfers, and also to just initiate any transactions with regard to CDSA. Thank you, Kanye.
Thank you, Marion. I think now participants, you've listened to how you can open account, online, how you can view information on where to invest online through either the broker apps or the NSE app, how you can trade, giving you the power to actually go to the market and trade by yourself, and how you can then view your securities or your holdings and ensuring that they're in safe custody. And that this is just empowering you from wherever you're seated, the comfort of your living room, or when you're transiting from one train station to the other, or maybe you're stuck in traffic, to look at opportunities that are available within the NSE and take advantage of those opportunities, invest back, save. And I think this process just to help you, seamlessly and easily invest through, the available platforms. And the three institutions have sort of given a background on how you can do that through the main apps that they have. Please take advantage. And I have seen Edward Manyeki has already downloaded the app and is ready to start using it. Very well, Edward. Thank you we've received your comment on the same. Again, the power is in your hand. We've already, the institutions have done much in terms of trying to, bring this information to you, and so you can use it appropriately. Allow me to now invite Madam Rina Hicks. Rina Hicks is a corporate finance specialist. She's a certified investment and financial analyst by ISIFA and an authorized representative under the GEMS market. And for those of us who follow Rina, MoneyWise is one of her brainchild programs where she tries to bring in people and crowd in people to try and invest in and save up and invest in the right channels. So Rina, I think we heard that some investors would also want to come and participate in not only in buying securities, but also in either listing companies or those kind of things. So now, Rina, in terms of the GEMS market, which is what we call the growth enterprise market that specializes on medium and small enterprises, how can diaspora participate in this market segment? And what are some of the requirements for listing in this segment?
Okay, thank you, Kanye. And good afternoon or good morning, wherever it is that you are sort of listening to us from. It's a pleasure to have you all here. So, the GEMS market segment is a market segment within the Nairobi Securities Exchange. The way that the Nairobi Securities Exchange is structured is such that we have three main market segments. We have the main market segment, which really the bigger companies are listed on, and these companies have a minimum capitalization of 50 million shillings. And then you have a medium sort of sized one, which is the alternative investment market segment. And this market segment is specifically for those companies that are sort of mid-sized with a minimum capitalization of about 20 million shillings. And then you have the smaller one, which is the GEMS market segment, the growth enterprise market segment. This market segment was set up by the Nairobi Securities Exchange about 8 years ago. And the idea was to give SMEs the opportunity to raise money easily through tapping into the capital markets. And so the requirements for those who are listed on this market segment are much less. So for example, if you have an SME that is registered in Kenya, because it has to be incorporated in Kenya, and you want to raise capital to either expand your growth into other markets, to grow the products that you offer and so on, it's easy for you to do that through the GEMS market segment. I mean, all you need is to have been operational for just 1 year. You don't even have to be profitable. Obviously, the business should be viable, but you only need a share capital of 10 million shillings and operational for 1 year. Even if you're not profitable, as long as you have a board and directors who are solid, are not bankrupt, have not been in fraud or criminal cases, and you have a competent management team, you really can be able to raise capital fairly easily. So the idea was for the NSE to provide an environment that enables SMEs to raise capital fairly easily. From the other perspective, which is the investor perspective, you would buy companies that are listed on this particular market segment, similar to any other shares that are listed on the exchange, by opening an account with the CDSE, either through a broker app. So I work at Faida Investment Bank, which is a stockbroker and an investment bank. And we have an app, just like has been mentioned like by the others, and you can open an account on the app and also buy shares on the app, which makes it fairly easy. Kanye?
Thank you, Rina. And maybe in terms of just appreciating what capital markets have, do you have any additional products of interest that you think that the diaspora, can be of value to the diaspora?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think maybe I'll just give an example so that we're not speaking theoretically. And I want to draw your attention to an example of a client who came to see us some time back. He is an African footballer. He's Kenyan, and works abroad in a foreign football club. And one of the challenges that he had was the fact that he had to send money home, supporting 5 children who are not his, supporting his parents, and he had a situation where he constantly had to send money home, and it's either through Wave or M-Pesa, and those transaction fees and having to wire money every so often can get a bit challenging. And so we sat down and figured out, okay, how much money do you need to send home over a year and so on? And we then invested in a product that enables him to generate an income. And that income then is what he uses to support his family, because then that way he doesn't have to keep sending money home, experiencing transaction fees. He can do one lump sum transaction, send money home with a lump sum, and that lump sum can continue to generate interest back home, and sending money then to the different various families becomes easier for him. So some examples of ways you can do that is through a bond, for example, what we call a treasury bond. Treasury bonds are instruments that the government uses to raise capital. So I'll give you an example of a really good one that was issued in April, and which is still available because it listed on the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and this is the infrastructure bond. So the government raises money to finance the budget and also to fund infrastructure development. This particular bond was an 18-year bond, offering a coupon, or what is an interest rate, of 12.667% per annum, and it is tax-free. So the fact that it's tax-free means that the 12.667 that you would earn from it is net, like there's no other fee that is charged. It's risk-free because it's issued by the government, and it's fairly easy to get into. So as a diasporan, wherever it is you are in the world, you can actually open an account as a Kenyan, as long as you have a Kenyan bank account. And even if you have a challenge with getting that set up, if you reached out to us, we're able to assist you to help you set up an account with the central bank to be able to apply for this bond. So let me give you the example. If you invested 1 million shillings in a bond, such as that one, you would receive 126,000 shillings a year. So that 126,000 shillings can then be used to finance, you know, the people that you need to finance within that year, and you still have your million shillings. Another way to do it is also perhaps you could decide to send money in one lump sum and invest in money market funds that we have available that are licensed by the Capital Markets Authority. You could also decide to take on a little bit more risk and invest in commercial, corporate bonds. So for example, right now we have, as an example, a Family Bank has issued a corporate bond where it is money they're borrowing from investors and will pay back, I believe it's over 5 years. So those are some examples of instruments that people in the diaspora have access to that give really good returns. I was looking at the interest rates that you can earn in a savings account in the US, and it's 0.6%. And so, you know, why not open, even if it's a money market fund in US dollars in Kenya, you will earn about 3% on your dollars. So we do have great products that that people can consider.
Well, there you have it. Opportunities. But of course, these opportunities can only be activated once you know about them. And we're happy to have these professionals who, on a day-to-day basis, have been mandated by the authority to, you know, conduct that kind of role of ensuring that they pass this information, you know, the intermediate the process, and deliver investments to anyone who would be interested in investing in the capital markets. Maybe just to, and there are a couple of questions here that I have received from, you know, from the floor, and probably I'll just, you know, run through the questions and maybe we can pick them up. One of the questions is, and I think this goes to Raghav, and welcome Raghav. Raghav is representing Edward, who had to step, and Raghav works with Econ Holdings Limited. So Raghav, we listened to Edward talk about real estate investment trust, and the question here is, what is the rate of interest of rates, and at what are the maturities range? Maybe you, as you just pick up your mind around that question. I would also want to ask the NSE to respond to what are the requirements of the app, and then also maybe from either from Rina, which is easier for diaspora, opening an account with a broker or directly with CBK. Maybe we can start with Raghav.
Thanks, David. So in terms of interest, if I've understood the question correctly, you know, from a perspective of what return they offer, the REITs are equity investments, so they don't offer a fixed rate of return like interest. It's a dividend payout because, like I said, it's an equity type investment. Hello, everyone. I should say. I guess I don't. You know, Edward and I are in a way tag teaming. So apologies, as I don't know what all he might have addressed. But there are two REITs that Acorn launched. I think for the purpose of the for the diaspora discussion, the most relevant REIT will be the income REIT, and the income REIT has a long-term rate of return of 11%. That's what we are targeting for investors.
Thank you, Raghav. And over to you, Bansri. Are there any requirements for the NSE app?
Hi, Kanye. So in terms of requirements for the NSE app, you actually absolutely need nothing. You just need to download it, and they'll ask you for basic information to sign up, which would include your names and possibly your email address, and that's it. Yes.
Fantastic. Rina, which is easier for diaspora? Is it opening an account with a broker or directly with CBK?
So I think it just depends on the kind of personality that you are. There are those people who are kind of, someone else should be handling this for me. I don't want to go through the hassle of, you know, following up and getting the details done. And then there are others who are happy to do it themselves. So both options exist. Now, I'll just post on the chat, and I hope you'll be able to see it. That's a link from the central bank website. And the idea is, it's a step-by-step process of how you can open a CBK account directly with the central bank. Should you have any challenge whatsoever and you're not able to do it, we're happy to help. And our email address is info@fib.co.ke, and we can get you set up. Because what we realize, if you don't have a bank account in Kenya, then it's going to be difficult for you to open the CBK account. But if you don't have a bank account, we're able to assist you, and we'll find a way to ensure that you're able to invest in the bonds. So they're saying they can't see the link. I don't know if there's a way you can post it. I don't know where to post it so that it can be seen.
Let me just have that posted. Oh, that's on the chat.
Yeah, I posted it on the chat. I don't know if you can see my post.
Okay, I'll have someone post it for everyone else to see.
Okay. Okay. Let me also say something.
Maybe the other question.
Just on that.
Okay.
CBK has made it so easy for us to invest. In fact, they have something called Treasury Mobile Direct. Before, we had to physically go to central bank to open the account. We still do, but once you've opened the account, there's something they call Treasury Mobile Direct. Once you've opened the account, I would encourage you to get the Treasury Mobile Direct app, because when you're bidding for bonds, you literally just go onto this platform and you can buy a treasury bill or a treasury bond fairly easily. So once you've opened the account with the central bank, I'd encourage you to also open the Treasury Mobile Direct platform as well. Yeah, sorry, Kanye, back to you.
Fantastic, Karina. I've also posted the link to all attendees, and I hope you can now see the link. All right, maybe just to pose a question to Cynthia. What are some of the initiatives in place you would probably highlight now that you deal with very many diaspora clients to protect the diaspora when it comes to investments?
Thanks, Kanye. I think the first thing investors need to appreciate is all of us are regulated by the Capital Markets Authority. We are inspected every 2 years. We have relationship managers, and anytime an investor complains directly to CMA comes to us to actually deal with that issue. So there is a lot of oversight in terms of our activities. They monitor our clients' accounts. They make sure that we are not mixing office money with client money and so on. So I think that is one of the biggest initiatives. I think the second one is, and Marian of CDSC was able to talk about this, is that now with technology, you're able to get alerts on your CDS account, so that if you feel that there's been any unauthorized activity on your account, you're able to get an alert, and that's something you can activate. And then if something has happened, you can either alert the broker to find out what happened. Maybe if it's an error, it's something that they'll be able to reverse. Or if you find that they're not giving you straight answers, you can actually complain to the CMA and the NSC as well. So I think those two initiatives are there. And I'd also want to add, as brokers, we're very conscious of the reputation we've had in the past that client money is not safe with us, that we use their money for other things. So all of us have really put in a lot of measures internally to protect clients. As I mentioned, clients' money is kept in a separate account to our own money. We have very well-equipped risk and compliance departments, and we have processes in place such that you can actually complain to us if you have an issue, and it will be escalated. So I think that there are a couple of measures in place. I think technology has helped a lot, because I know for Diaspora, the biggest issue was something happens in the account a long time ago. They only come to find out there's been activity when they fly down perhaps once a year to Kenya. So I think with some of those measures, there should be a bit more comfort. I think also it's good to highlight that CMA also has the investor compensation fund. So if anything does happen with the broker and they do go down with your money, there's that mechanism for compensation as well. Back to you, Kanye.
Fantastic. Maybe over to also Cynthia, because Cynthia and Rina, what are some of the tips for investing wisely? Maybe you can start with Rina.
I wasn't too sure who's starting first.
It's
So the
okay,
first
I'm
thing
giving you the floor.
Okay. Cynthia, I love what Cynthia said when she was beginning, and she talked about knowing what your investment objectives are. I think goals are everything. So the first thing is to figure out what are your goals and what are your needs. A lot of times people hear, yeah, the stock market is a great place to invest, and the bonds are good, and perhaps I should put my money in this or the other. But the first place to begin is to find out, first of all, do I even have an emergency fund in place? Do I have money available? Should there be a crisis? Should I lose my job? Should I face an emergency or a health scare that might require me to put some money somewhere? And so you have to have money available for at least 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses in case any emergency occurs. Now, once you've got that covered and you have insurance, health insurance, you're funding your pension, then the other thing you must do is make sure that you're investing your money in opportunities that are earning you an interest that is at least higher than inflation. And so you have to then now look for opportunities that are giving you at least, inflation in Kenya is slightly below 6%. So if it gives you 6% and over, that's okay. And so the idea then is to look for what opportunities can give you a good return. 10% is great, but within reasonable risk, so that you're not taking too much risk that causes you to then lose money. I mean, you don't want to be in a situation where you are exposing yourself to too much risk. And so you look at the opportunities that exist. And don't overwhelm yourself. Make sure you invest in opportunities that are easy to track, that you completely understand, that are either approved or regulated by the Capital Markets Authority, or are credit rated. So for example, if it is stocks, you want to buy shares that are listed because it's easy to buy and sell. Because a lot of times with investments, you invest for the future. When that future arrives, you want to be able to access your money. So liquidity is an important thing. The other thing is just making sure that the companies and the opportunities that you're investing in are well run, and the people who are behind them are people of integrity. And then sort of looking at the different options for you so that you also diversify. But you can't also just invest in those. I know there's other opportunities that are available that are a little higher risk, and it's okay to take on more risk as long as you understand the risk that you're taking and you're not putting too much money that if you lost, then it jeopardizes your future. So that's in summary what I would say, Kanye. Cynthia?
Thank you. Cynthia?
Yeah, I think Rina has captured it quite well. I think really understanding what your risk appetite is and understanding how that corresponds to the investments that you are looking at is quite key. An observation I've made in terms of how Kenyans invest is a lot of Kenyans believe they're risk takers. Entrepreneurs, they can take in a lot of risk and they want to go for the highest risk investment or product. But when you talk to them properly, you find that actually they're not. They're actually very conservative and very risk averse. They don't want to lose any of their money. They actually want to make a return on top of that. So when you look at the investments they make, they're going for products where the chance of losing everything is 80 to 100%. So I think as investors really understand, if you don't want to lose any money, if you prefer to make a bit of return but you have capital protection, what are those products? If you want to take a bit of risk, maybe you have like 80% of your portfolios in safe assets, and then you can take a risk on the 20. I think where we're seeing challenges is where people put 100% of their savings in very risky assets. So I think really understand what your risk appetite is, and then match that risk appetite with products which are suitable for you. Back to you, Kanye.
Fantastic. Thank you. And I think our chat box and Q&A are open for your questions and comments. And I'm happy to just read out some of them. I've seen Marion has given us a help desk email where you can reach out if you need to get to know about how you can access your holdings or get to monitor your holdings. I've seen Rina's comment on the the link to the CBK. I'm also trying to just go through some of the comments. Elizabeth Kangede, these are very informative presentation, indeed very helpful for us in diaspora, as diasporians. Just trying to just highlight some of the comments that we're receiving from the floor. We have Wilfred Mukunzu, thanks a lot. Very good comment. You know, let's have your feedback, and as you have your feedback, we are also able to, you know, just highlight some of the areas where you need us to highlight. To Rina, can you buy bonds on a jointly owned bank account in Kenya? Maybe that's maybe one of the questions. Maybe Rina, you can highlight, and you know, to Moses, I think the Moses Kenyanjui. Rina.
Yes, the answer is yes. You can buy as an individual. You can buy jointly with another party. You can buy as a corporate or a self-help group as well. Yeah. So those are the different accounts you can open.
Fantastic. I think Boniface Mongela, you must have missed our conversation on the products at the CMA, but we'll be happy to, you know, we'll give you a highlight of those ones on the box, on the chat box. We had also highlighted those ones earlier on. I think Cynthia did mention some of the products that we have. There's also a question here. Maybe I'll throw it to the panelists. Apart from the actual real estate and rates, what is the future of commercial real estate meeting blockchain technology? Maybe Raghav, do you have any advancements on real estate, you know, utilizing blockchain technology? Ideas?
Yeah, no, I actually do. It's quite a hot topic, obviously. You know, sometimes real estate can be considered boring in one of those traditional, well, bricks and mortar industry. So, but I do think that there is very much scope for blockchain technology in real estate, particularly, I would say. Okay, let me kind of speak from a global perspective, and then I think we'll have to think about how it applies to Kenya. But you know, particularly from in land records and title registration, I think blockchain has considerable scope to be able to clean up that process, clean up that clean up that aspect that sometimes leads to fraud, corruption, mistakes, errors that can impact people's livelihood. Where I think there's still some scope is in terms of, because I think when people typically think of blockchain, they associate it to cryptocurrency. And I do think that in that sense, there's still some way to go just generally before land transactions or real estate transactions can be done on using crypto. I think that's a lot to do with kind of what you see as the typical holders of real estate and their let's say, you know, I think real estate is seen as a secure investment because it's something that you can touch and feel. So therefore, you have some level of surety when you hold real estate. I don't think people necessarily feel that when you have crypto. I might sound a little old-fashioned when I'm saying that. And the other thing is that when you look at the other holders of real estate globally are institutional investors. And institutional investors, I think, have not really taken to crypto right now, primarily because it's largely unregulated. And I think what you're seeing is that it's usually individuals who are essentially taking a punt that are involved in crypto. So I think there are uses for blockchain in real estate, and I think there are other areas where there needs to be further development before you can see it. Yeah, I think that's where I can end it.
Thank you, Raghav, for that. I think that's an open conversation that we as a regulator, of course, We have what we call the regulatory sandbox, where we keep on looking at new innovations, new opportunities that are available to either make the investment journey worthwhile, and also bring on these new ideas that will make the process more efficient. And I think it's a conversation we are willing to listen to and see how we can also facilitate to investors who are aligned towards that direction. So I'd like to ask, I'd like us to take a poll at this particular point so that we can see whether we are able to address, one of some of the objectives of this webinar. And I'd like to ask my colleague Victor or David to just run the poll, and then as we run the poll, then we can come back to the session on the other sets of questions that we have received from yourself. So we'll give you about maybe 3 minutes, 2 minutes to give your feedback, then we can pick it up. And maybe just in the interest of the ones who are listening through the questions, have you previously attended a Capital Markets Authority forum? Yes or no? Has this forum enhanced your awareness on capital markets products? From the discussions by the panel, which areas of interest you most? So you can say, is it real estate, shares, bonds, collective investment schemes, derivatives, technology innovations, investor protection? What are some of the challenges you face when considering investing in capital markets? Lack of information, is it low confidence in Kenyan capital markets, experience with bad investments due to either rogue contacts in Kenya, economic environment in Kenya. And this will help us also just address some of those issues, and also ensure that we also address some of the concerns that you have going forward. So team back at the authority, you can let me know when we can close the poll so we can move to the next Q&A session. Please continue to, using the chat box and a Q&A box for your questions and comments, which we can have a big conversation here. I have a question here from Cynthia Kanye. Can one buy bonds from Kenya while in Burundi? So can one invest in Kenyan, government bonds or corporate bonds while in Burundi? I guess, just before I invite Rina, I know we have an initiative within the EAC that is trying to, sort of integrate all the markets so that all investors within the East African community are able to transact freely. And also using a one standardized platform is an ongoing conversation, but immediate. I think currently we already have certain other arrangements where brokers are able to facilitate that, and I would probably want to invite Rina to comment on that. Rina.
Thank you so much, Kanye. Yes, you're right. We do make it possible for non-Kenyans who are not in Kenya to participate in the bond market. And so for anybody who wants to do that, you can reach out to any broker or investment bank in Kenya, and they'll be able to facilitate that process. For us, if it's for us to be able to assist you, you can just send an email to us, info@fib.co.ke, and we'll be able to assist you with setting up the account and being able to invest in the bond market.
Fantastic, thank you, Rina. I think for those of us who would want to get the link to the app stores, we've just posted it. If you want to download the NSE app for you to use and start the journey, the investment journey within the capital markets. Again, as it was earlier stated by the chair, Kenya Diaspora Alliance, Dr. Shem. There are opportunities in Kenya that can be used, through the available channels, and some of these channels, of course, provide the participation by investors and diasporians to now then participate in the growth of this economy and also invest directly to the real economy, which has immense opportunities, but of course in a structured way. And capital markets provides this kind of opportunities for you to undertake. I think we're done with the poll, and thank you for participating. on the same. At least it gives us some feedback on the same in terms of just also trying to serve you better. Maybe just to mention, of course, in terms of the role of regulator in providing, one of our mandates, which is investor protection. We also, listen to some of those challenges that we may have before, where probably some of our intermediaries have acted in a certain way. We welcome you to come and converse with us, be able to conduct those kind of investigations and see where some of those transactions got stuck, or if there was an issue, then we can always address it. So just looking at the poll results, have you ever previously attended a capital markets forum? Majority 66% said no. This is probably the first time. We hope to increase this so that at least we can have more people now participating going forward. Has this forum enhanced your awareness on capital markets products? Resounding yes. 98% of you say yes. From the discussions by the panel, which areas interest you most? We have 60% on real estate investment trusts. So Raghav, there you go. You have some work to do. Shares as well at closely at 59%. Bonds are 57%. We need to speak more about collective investment schemes. And I think someone asked in the chat box, some of the youth who'd want to invest back, even locally, might not have the tidy lump sum that you were to invest in. How do you then bring in? Again, we have a conversation going where we want to pull in all these youth and young investors who want to come and participate and buy securities in the market, but they might not have a lot of money. But when you pull them into a vehicle, then they're able to invest as a group and then get returns that are distributable to all of them once they make money from that. So that's an area where probably we'll be hearing a lot more from us in terms of pooled funds and how we then bring in or rake in some of these investors who might not be able to buy the securities independently. Then we have derivatives. Of course, these are new asset class that we are trying to drum about, and I think it's an area where we'll take in interest, especially given that it has a lesser learning curve from the diasporians who probably have seen some of these asset classes transact within their spaces. Technological innovations, 37%, and investor protection, 37%. So the other question was, what are some of the challenges you face when considering investing in the capital markets? I think at 58%, we have lack of information on investment opportunities. This is huge. I guess you have the right persons in this forum. You have the NSC, you have the CDSC, you have the capital markets, you have the investment banks and the stockbrokers, who are the key end-to-end transactions, can take you through the process, to get proper information and also investment opportunities. We'll keep this kind of conversations going so that we give you as much information. Take advantage of the apps that we have that the institutions have mentioned. Let's see, get information, and I think as you get into these apps and get this information, then it makes you a better investor. And where you have clarifications, of course, we are able to get that feedback from you, and we'll be posting our email addresses, especially at the CMA, to just to follow up on how else we can improve this, and especially just to showcase some of the opportunities that are there for you to invest back at home. There's also low confidence in Kenya's capital markets at 14%. I think with this kind of conversations, this number ought to grow. Experience with bad investments. Again, capital markets is here to try and address some of those bad investments, so that we ensure that even as we educate you and give you awareness on the investment products that are licensed and approved by the regulator, then you're able to make informed decisions as you continue. The economic environment in Kenya, we hope that, of course, as the economy improves, as we also address our various challenges, then this is a conversation we can continue having and also build upon what we have. And of course, with the opportunities that are there, the sky is the limit. Thank you, team, for the poll. Maybe I could just maybe the team at the my back office team, maybe you could open up for Eric Mureithi. Has been raising his hand all this time. Eric, maybe we can give you one chance to ask a question. Maybe Victor, are you able to allow Eric just to ask a question? even as we look at other questions that are coming in. Yes, you will get the link. The recordings will be available. We will share this with the details that you registered with. Eric, please unmute and ask a question. Eric Moredi. Eric, this is an opportunity to ask a question if you're there. I guess possibly he's not there because his hand has been, up, and I think only maybe he missed up the opportunity. We also have Moses Kanyora. Eric, are you back? So as we wait for that, wait for Moses, can you ask your question? Moses, can you ask a question? I don't know if you guys can hear Moses.
Can't hear him.
We can't hear you, Moses, unfortunately. Maybe a question to all the panelists from Sam Kigumo. How does a local bank verify the documents needed by central bank in order to open a CDS, yet I am not physically available? Maybe I'll ask Rina to answer that. How does a local bank verify the documents needed by central bank in order to open a CDS account, yet I'm not physically available?
I think what would happen there, the verification is really to verify not the documents, but the bank account details. And so according to those requirements, CDS, central bank can use scanned documents. So what you would do is fill out the form that CBK indicates, send it to your bank for verification by stamping on that form and signing. So I think they need 2 signatories from your bank. The bank would then now send that document to you, but they can also send it to central bank. And there's an email address that is indicated on that, on those requirements. Once you do that, central bank would actually then confirm those details. What they typically do is they call the bank or email them and confirm that your account details are as indicated on the form. And if there's any issue, then you're able to then sort it out with the bank. But they recognize you're not in Kenya, and that's why they have that step-by-step process for people in the diaspora. So the scanned document is what you would then use to verify. And the bank is verifying your bank details, the account number with them. Thank you. Back to you, Kanye.
Thank you, Rina. Thank you, Rina, for that. I think I'm also receiving, some comments from the participants. This is very informative. I cannot afford to miss it next time. Thank you for this forum. It's very informative indeed. That is from Peter. The meeting was awesome. Can't afford to miss it anytime, even though it was my first time. Shadrach Kiplagat, welcome, Shadrach. We will, of course, keep you informed about these forums. They are important for us to, create that awareness. Kindly share the write-up on derivatives, if any. Amos Morogo, I think I would invite you to, I know, Bansri, you're around. This information is available on your website. Please confirm.
We have all our products, all NSE products that are traded. All the information is available on our website, and what I'll do, I'll also put down the link to our website so all the audiences can just right away be directed to that. Over to you, David.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Did Eric come in so you can ask the question, or Moses Kanyora? I think there's also a question from Sam Kigumo. Can you hold one webinar on PE funds? I think, thank you, Sam, for that question. We will endeavor to, of course, do that. I think if it's an area that we might require to impact some knowledge, then we're happy to do that. And please be on the lookout when we arrange this, and we'll share the information through our channels. And subscribe to our social media channels. that is on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. All right. I'm just trying to look out for the questions that we might not have. How do we know when the next forum is? Leah, would you want to answer that, Leah? Leah Muli, when is the next forum? Or Lucy?
Thank you, David. We normally organize this as annual events, but given the great interest that this has created, we can consider having like 2 annually. It's something we will discuss, but we definitely will keep in touch. We have all your contacts, those because you have registered, so we will update you and we will make a point of keeping you engaged more regularly.
Thank you, thank you. I think a very interesting question here from Mwangi Gachuki, sorry. I'm a passionate about finance as my profession. I need a finance mentor from our able panelists, Philip Gachuki at Gmail. We'll reach out to you, Philip. We're happy to impart knowledge and where we can help you become a better professional and hopefully work for the capital markets. And as an ambassador, we're happy to do that for you. We'll get back to you on that and we'll reach out. Bansi, would you expand a little bit about green bonds? That is a question from Mwangi Gachuki as well.
Sorry, I was on mute. Sure. So kind of for green bonds, a green bond is just like a regular corporate bond, only that it has the element of where the proceeds have to be used for projects that have environmental benefits. And in the normal corporate bonds that we have listed at the exchange, you normally don't have a reporting component back to investors. But for green bonds, you will possibly have to report on a quarterly basis or on an annual basis on how you're using the proceeds. Of course, in terms of management, there'll be more interest from the investors in terms of timelines and proceeds. There'll just be more regular monitoring, but the main focus is that the bond has to be used for projects that yield environmental benefits. Yes.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you, Bansi, for that. I'm just looking out for any other question. From Joki Monene, I am not an investor, but I'm really good in the finance industry. Maybe if there is a sorry. If there is an opening at CMA, can reach us out again. Write to us whenever we have opportunities. We always post them for any. We are an equal opportunity employer, so we always post those opportunities out there. And once you come in, we always give you the opportunity to come and be part of this great team at the CMA and also even the market. So I think the question for Bansi. Hi Bansi, I would really like the NSE to hold a webinar on derivatives. Also, is there an initiative to have an emissions market at the NSE? Bansi, that's a good question. From Joseph Machagua.
That's a very interesting question, Josephat. In terms of the emissions market, I can confirm nothing as of that for today. But in terms of the webinar on derivatives, there are a number of webinars that the NSE participates in. But I will sort of relay your message, and we should possibly also organize a webinar just to impart more knowledge to all the audiences on the derivatives.
Fantastic, fantastic. I think from there's an anonymous attendee who says the CMA challenge was a good idea for investor education, especially among the youth. Any chance to revive it? Lucy?
Yes, we will revive it. I think the biggest, the last one was quite a success, and definitely were it not for COVID, we were meant to at least have another one. So it's still in our to-do list, and we will definitely communicate. Thank you.
Fantastic. Great. I think this has been a very, informative session for everyone from the comments that I am seeing here. And I think, just going by the feedback that you're receiving from the participants, of course, the authority in partnership with Kenya Diaspora Alliance is always happy to engage you much more, and I'm sure we'll have more of these kind of interactions, either targeted to certain products or even to just generally addressing a certain area of need. And I'll probably ask Lucy to also post an email address where if you have any specific area that you would want us to, address, then let us know. We always, partner with KD and bring this information closer to you and to make you, a better investor and give you more information so that you can make informed decisions when coming to capital markets. And I can see it's IEPA, IEPA@cma.or.ke. That's the email address to use. I'm also seeing a request here if we can share, the panelists can share their LinkedIn profiles. I guess for all of them that are on the LinkedIn, their names as they appear, in the, so you can always look out for them. Hello, Valentine Kayesi. Hello, thank you for the session today. Really insightful, and we look forward to more information is power. When empowered, Kenyans both abroad and locally will participate more. I cannot agree with you anymore. And that is the right statement to have. So Lucy, I think I will take it back to you so that you can take us to the next the next session, which is I think we've addressed most of the questions, but also we are open. You have our email address iepa@cma.or.ke for any follow-up questions that you might have that you might also want clarifications on. Kindly write to us so that we're able to address, and we will get back to you with our answers. But before we get to Lucy, maybe just on the panelists, we can have parting shots, and I'll start with Cynthia. Your parting shot.
Kanye, thank you very much. I think in terms of investments, I just want to reassure the diaspora that we're all set up to accommodate them. We're available in terms of providing additional information in terms of investments, the process, and so on. So please feel free to reach out to us. I'll also share our contact details in the chat for everybody. But I just want them not to be afraid in terms of investing in Kenya, and we're here to assist them. I also want to thank the authority for inviting me to participate in the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Cynthia. Reina, parting shot.
Thank you, Kanye. Yeah, I also want to just say that things have changed. You no longer need to talk to your cousin, Kamau or Odhiambo. You can just invest directly. You don't need to go through other people. We've made things so much easier from the comfort of your homes and offices. You can invest in the stock market, in the bond market, in money market funds. The options are also a lot wider now in Kenya, and we are regulated. We are not fly-by-nights or briefcase businessmen. We are solid licensed institutions, and you will have access and transparency to be able to see your investments. The other thing is I've noticed a lot of diasporans tend to invest only in real estate, land and buildings, but there's financial assets that are easy to get into and to exit as well that can offer you really good returns for your money. So please do consider them as you plan your investments and your retirement. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks, Kanye and Wycliffe and the rest of the team at CMA for this opportunity.
Welcome. Thank you, Reina, for partnering with Marion, please, your parting shot.
Yes, thank you, Kanye. My parting shot basically is, as Rina has said, there's a lot of transparency right now And that's why we are giving all channels for investors to be able to log in and view their accounts and be able to keep up with their shares. And we are also putting up more and more platforms to ensure that that transparency is always going to be accessible from everyone, from whichever part of the world. So thank you once again for having me as a panelist on this platform. We really appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you, Marion. I will invite Dr. Shem. Is Dr. Shem with us, or he has left?
Hi.
Oh, you're here.
Yes, I've been following quietly. Allow me to leave off my light. I just want to thank, I hope I can be heard.
Yes, you can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, just to thank you. This was fantastic. We'll continue working more. Together, I think diaspora is the gold mine, I keep saying, and the low-lying fruit untapped that's going to work with the partners in government, both at national as well as county levels and private sector and diasporas themselves. You know, sometimes we say, oh, we're only talking, somebody's only interested in the remittance, but not the remitters, the shoe wearer. So within the framework of 4 Ps, public, private, people's partnerships, we are going to make Kenya much, much greater than it is, and Africa as well. By the way, at the Africa Union, where we represent East Africa, AU, ECOSOC, East Africa region, 14 countries from Madagascar to Ethiopia. Last summit in February, the heads of states did recognize and compliment Kenya, government of Kenya, for engagement with the diasporas. Indeed, our president was requested to host an African diaspora summit last year. Of course, COVID at its things, but it's something we're working on very closely with the office as well as Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So thanks so much. Diaspora are ready to do business, and Kenya too is ready for business tourists. Be blessed. Thank you, and compliments to everyone, all the fabulous panelists. Lucy, a great job. God bless. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Shem. Mr. Shamia?
Thank you, Kanye. I've enjoyed listening to, you know, the questions, answers, panelists. Maybe just to say, perhaps some of us, we found maybe presentations a bit, you know, familiar, or we've decided to go back and just make it simple. So we don't want to be very abstract. I think we need to go through step by step so that we carry with us those who we are introducing for the first time. So in case you found it was too basic, we apologize, but I think that is the spirit. We want everybody else to understand our intentions. But today, Kanye, let me just say thanks so much, because I've seen so many people have been following the discussions. And I think this is the spirit. As we go forward, I think, and I hear the questions like, how frequent can we have this kind of forum? I think we'll look at it and then see how do we share more information, especially with the likes of, you know, the Kenya Diaspora Alliance and others who are there. And they are actually giving us some kind of forum to reach out to most of the other stakeholders in the diaspora. So mine is just to say thank you very much. I know we are in different time zones. Thank you for finding time out of your very busy schedules. And we shall be talking. I think we are interested. We are happy to hear what we hear from, you know, most of the other people who have interacted with you. And we want at least to see how we convert what you are doing into value. Not to say you haven't been contributing, but maybe from the perspective of our capital markets. Thank you, Kanye, and I wish everyone else a good day and a good evening.
Thank you, CEO. This is very important. Both Dr. Shem and the CEO CMA have been listening through all this time. So it means that this is, these are investors who they are keen to see that they, get value from the investments within the capital markets, and for them to have stayed all this time with us, I think it just shows that the importance of this kind of conversations going, and also the keenness to see that we address to some of the issues that we have, and also bring in, bring the conversation closer to their diasporians. Allow me now then to invite Lucy to give us a vote of thanks. Lucy?
Thank you, David. Thank you. Indeed, it was a great forum, and the participation was quite good. And I take this opportunity to thank each and every person who has participated in this forum. You have taken time off your busy schedules to just be with us and make this webinar a success. Our special thanks go to our Chief Executive, Wycliffe Shamia, Dr. Shem, CEO KDA. We really appreciate you, and we thank you for taking time off your busy schedule as well to grace this occasion. I take this opportunity to sincerely thank our panelists. They have done a good job. They have simplified the products and the access to the market, and we don't take it for granted. Thank you very much. Thank you, Edward. Thank you, Rina, Cynthia, Vansri, and Mario. That was a good job. And I take it that each participant has been able to pick a product or two on how they can invest in the market. And even if they are already investing, they now know better how to protect their investment, and how to also, when they are going to invest, how to also get to ensure that they are also play their part by ensuring that they are getting into a secure investment. Last but not least, I want to thank my team, the CMA team, the technical team that was at the background doing a lot of work answering your questions. And if there are any questions that haven't been answered, we will still go through the webinar reports, and we will try and address any of the issues that may have been left undone. I also want to thank our sign language interpreters for the good job that they have done. Our very able MC, Mr. Kanye, thank you for the good job, and even keeping time. We have finished 4 minutes past 5, and we intended the forum to be 3 to 5, and that is exactly what you have done. Finally, I just want to thank the CMA team, my colleagues and the management for their support during the preparation of the webinar, and most sincerely to our director, Lou Kombara, our immediate supervisors, Mr. Kamunyu and Conrad Afande, and my colleague Halkano Huka for the support in making this webinar a success, as well as the communication team. Thank you very much, and may God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. I think Kanye has gone offline. On behalf of the team, we again wish to say thank you, and have a blessed time.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Yeah.
Thank you.